All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the Q&A, the question and answer, live with Josh Hewlett, yours truly, and our dear friend Robert Scott Bell. How you doing tonight, brother?
Good. We're ready. All questions, no answers. We're just going to leave you hanging. So you guys throw them at us. We'll see if we answer any. No, it's great to be with you, Josh, my brother. And I have to say, you're absolute inspiration from since the time we met, right? And I got you going. I'm like, come on, join me in the kickboxing stuff. And now you just like surpassed me. I don't think I can keep up, but I was doing a lot more workouts in the home studio because the place I was going, unfortunately, went under. Didn't last as long as I would like it. And I just been, just anxious to get back out there because you're never as motivated as when you're with a group of people that work out. It's so much fun, the spirit of it.
It's awesome.
And so I went into a boxing gym a few days ago to start the new year. And I was nervous because, I'm working out, but I'm not intense like I was for a while because you just can't motivate yourself that way.
Sure.
And I thought, man, I'm going to be really hurting. I got in there thanks to this. I was keeping up with everybody and I hadn't been in there in a while. I was like, no problem. I guess cardio miracle for the win. So not surprised, but still it's cool to see, considering I was a little bit nervous for the intensity's sake, but man, I'm back.
That's awesome, man. No, that's actually one of my questions I was gonna shoot to you and ask you throughout, as it is a loaded question, so I don't want to take over the whole time, but what's the biggest lie that you've been told and early in your career that you've seen just uncovered time and time again throughout, being on the podcast for so long?
Man. Yeah. Cause now this is 2026. So this is my 27th year in broadcast media.
Wow.
And God, what is the biggest lie? Oh man, there's so many that we're uncovering.
Yeah.
And at the risk of offending somebody in the audience, I don't know. I think it's that injecting foreign animal RNA and DNA and aborted fetal cell DNA into people and babies is somehow going to protect them from disease. I'm just going to say that probably the biggest lie. Now, I was covering today, interestingly enough, on the show, a new vaccine they were trying to come out with for fentanyl toxicity, right? They don't want, obviously people to die of fentanyl. That's a good thing. But the things that they're using to make this happen, you got to watch what we revealed. And it's also interesting because the concept of a vaccine was always told to us as something that would protect us from an infectious disease, right? Infection. Right. And yet they're doing these things to protect us from toxins. And I'm like, oh, that's a clue, because one of the biggest lies is that germs are the cause of disease. Because if they were, we would all be dead. We have more germs in our body than we have cells. So in that case, it's the fear, the lies that they perpetuated over many, many, if not decades and centuries. And that came out in COVID. That's why a lot of people woke up and began to see through a lot of these things. And, I've been at it for so long. I'm like, welcome to the party, pal. I'm so glad you're here. So it is a loaded question. There are a lot of lies that we've been told. And I think another lie is that when we age, we have to degenerate, decay, and become diseased and die miserably.
Yeah,
and
slow down, right? Yeah.
I've had, ancestors, if I will, that were alive when I was young, grandparents, aunts, uncles, things like that did have horrible things like cancer and other things. But I realized, on my journey, that it wasn't because they had bad genes or they lived too long. It was the lifestyle, the diet, the toxicity, all of that. And that would come back to your dad and the blood flow, the oxygenation, the nitric oxide or the endothelial nitric oxide synthetase that Cardio Miracle helps facilitate, because everything relates to blood flow. If the blood flow is not good, you can guarantee that you're going to have some dysfunction and degeneration and inflammation and, again, cell death and others. So we know how we can counter that. And one of the biggest things we can do every day is the Cardio Miracle, because of what it does to many pathways of functionality in the body. Our friend Dr. Judy Mikovits knows that. I love when we get together and talk about this. It's always great because we talk about nourishing the pathways, right? Yeah. How do you have functional pathways? You give it what it needs. You remove that which it doesn't. We were on with your dad, John, over the holidays. We had a kind of a Zoom meeting for my group audience, and we just had fun, just a lot of fun. It was so great to have your dad on. He's such a bright light. we talked about everything and anything with
awesome.
him. But he's
That's
a
no holds
miracle.
bar, right? That's
Yeah, he's a miracle, man. We love him.
That's amazing, man. No, I appreciate the answer. I mean, I guess I could throw out an email that I got today or it was a social media comment of someone that said, what do you tell someone when they try Cardio Miracle and they feel an extra flutter in their heart? And I say, first of all, we do the, standard, we don't treat, diagnose, any of that, but we're passionate about the science about nitric oxide. And I told her it's like nitric oxide is a vasodilator. So once you're not getting the blood flow, as much blood flow as you've got, haven't gotten that for years, it's going to wake some things up. It's going to kind of restructure a few things and regulate other things. And so what would you say would be the best answer for that, Robert?
Well, you're right along the lines of how I think about this. When you have dysfunction and, let's say just lack of blood flow and oxygenation to myriad of areas of the body or one particular area, it could be the heart, anything like that. And then you reactivate those pathways. You open up the floodgates per se to say, we're going to bring in something that hadn't been there for a while. That can come with shifts in symptoms and sensations. I've often said, like, people with neuropathies or different nerve flow issues in their extremities, particularly their lower leg. They get blood flow again. Suddenly they have sensations. It's like, whoa, I feel a little pain. I didn't feel that pain before. It's like, well, it's not that you're being hurt by this. You're actually activating and opening up and restoring the pathways of communication, which could be, hey, there's still some stuff we're working on down here.
Heck yeah.
So alteration of heart rhythm, heart rate, these things can happen. And we talk about the bringing in of the minerals as well, not just all of the amino acids and different things that help facilitate the endothelial nitric oxide synthetase, the nitric oxide to go up. There's all of that counters the bad stuff, the antioxidants in there that help neutralize these inflammatory pathways and cascades, which is a good thing, but that also can change how you feel. And grandma and mom used to say, you might feel a little worse before you feel better. Doesn't mean you have to, but when there's a change, we tend to, in a medical world, interpret it always as a bad thing. And as a homeopath, I look at change in a different light. I had to learn that growing up in a medical family to somehow reinterpret the signals, not as I'm going to die, but I'm going to live. Life is coming back to the body. And sometimes you do need help. People need someone to hold their hand a little bit to get there. So these questions are important. And I'm glad, I'm always grateful when people ask the questions or even challenges, say, hey, what's going on here? I need to know, because that opens up an opportunity to provide insight that they didn't have. And God bless the doctors, but often they're not trained in this. So they're having to learn. They're coming from behind too and catching up. And I'm grateful when they do. We welcome them here as well.
I love it. No, I love it. And I really do appreciate that. And I did advise her that, excuse me, as we're not doctors, to take it slow, maybe take the product with a carb and just start out slow and then build up to it. So what do you feel about building up to getting used to the product a little bit?
Well, yeah, and this comes from my practitioner skill set and clinical experience over now 31 years or more, so 20, 30, almost 32nd year. There is very important considerations for some, not all, but over the years, I've seen the sensitivity and hypersensitivity to these changes, the restoration of function, the nourishing of pathways coming back to life, that it's overwhelming for some. And in that context, they'll usually volunteer to me, hey, whatever anybody else takes, I have to take this much of it, right? So they'll often have that experience before they even come to Cardio Miracle and find it. And then that question comes up, hey, can I go full bore? Well, there's nothing in Cardio Miracle that would harm you. So I would say yes, but at the same time, I honor and acknowledge the experience these people have had on their journey back to, full recovery. And I say, listen, you didn't get here overnight. We need to take the time and pace it at the pace you're comfortable going. And so some people are, excuse the expression, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Others are like, you know what? Every time I try something new, I'm like, whoa, I got to adjust to this. So I let them often volunteer that. I go, yes, start with a quarter of the dose, right? quarter scoop, a half scoop, whatever it takes. But I say, this is not a foot race to the end unless you're, on the table and they're about to, put a blanket over you, that, a permanent, that's not, if you're not there, take the time you feel like you need to adjust and adapt to a new level of function. Because again, that new level of function can come with, maybe sometimes it doesn't feel all that comfortable and you're not sure what's happening. So taking your time, for those that have that history, absolutely support that. And this is where people who are not practitioners, and I appreciate your sensitivity, Josh, here, they will often just say, no, just go all the way in. I'm like, yes, I know it's safe, you know it's safe, but it's a traumatic experience to operate at this level and suddenly operate at this level.
Oh, yeah.
And so to work your way gradually there, for some, that's an important step, and that honors the process. Therefore, they learn a lot about that process too. And the great news is not only they're helping themselves, but they're going to help others, because they're going to have that same sensitivity when others come to them and go, hey, what are you doing? You used to be, now you're there. I want that. And they're not going to go, here, take the whole thing, swallow it all. They're going to be like, yeah, well, this is what I did. And so that's an honoring thing. So I appreciate the question and the sensitivity.
Oh, I love it. No, I love it. And I also need to be that way, because people that need to build up to something, especially when you're introducing something as powerful as nitric oxide into your system. When I was diagnosed with MS in 2009, my dad, John Hewlett, he brought this other nitric oxide product to me, and he said, just make sure you're taking it 2 to 4 times a day. And he said, get it down your neck, and so I had to just start.
And that's when you were like 600 pounds or something, right? You weighed like a Volkswagen.
Yeah, exactly. And so the fact that I've dropped 200 pounds, it's like, and thank goodness I went back to the doctor, 6 months later, and they saw 0 lesions on my brain. And it was all because of the buildup and the eating and consuming whole and organic fruits and vegetables, and really taking my health into my own hands and trusting my dad who put this whole product together. And then we had this inferior product that we're working with. He went in and talked to the formulators and said, I can make this 10 times better. And they said, we want to move units, not save lives. And he walked away and started Cardio Miracles. So we are so, so grateful that we're able to be a part of this wonderful company and be able to help as many people as we can possibly help, man. It's been such an honor to
Josh,
you.
Your story is so amazing. I remember when you told it on my show, I was blown away. I'm like, the lesions to no lesions thing. And I get why that happened, but still that it happened in the rate it happened, it was like, man, more power to, what we're doing here in terms of opening up the flow of life, the life force, the vital force, or the spark of life, as nitric oxide is known. And also it's still stunning to say you've lost 1 1/4 of me in terms of what I'm like, how is that even possible? That's so awesome. So
200 pounds, man. All right. Awesome. We got a good question from someone. Can you explain how this helps lower cholesterol? My husband is drinking CM 2 times a day. He went off his cholesterol med and his doctor went berserk. So we went back on them. He has labs at the end of this month. So I love, first of all, that you spelled out berserk. That is amazing. And second of all, Dr. Bell, what would you say to that initially?
Well, if a doctor is prescribing a statin drug, then he's 30 to 40 years behind the science of cardiovascular health. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that to be accurate. From the first time I opened up the microphone in 1999, in fact, when I was on radio in 1994 being interviewed, I brought up the cholesterol hoax. And if you want to live long and you want to have full cognitive capacity and not suffer with dementia and other neurological degradation issues, you want to have higher cholesterol, not lower cholesterol. The myth that cholesterol is a cause of heart disease has been dispelled, a zillion times over in the peer-reviewed medical literature, clinically, et cetera. But again, I'm not here to replace your husband's doctor. That's up to him to decide if that's what he wants to do. Now, to the question of how it may lower cholesterol, well, cholesterol is there's a wide variety of levels in the human body. And unless you can test your ancestors and that they were healthy, let's assume they were eating organic food and clean, you have no idea what a healthy cholesterol level is for you. It's more indicative of liver health than anything else, because even if you eat a high cholesterol laden diet, like a lot of egg yolks, which is high in cholesterol, you will impact your cholesterol levels minimally. Not going to impact it much at all. And you're eating and loading up on those eggs, right? And why is my level not going up? Or, it's like, it's not how it works. The liver is the key to producing cholesterol, which is very protective of the cardiac integrity, because if there is inflammation within the cardiac lining, anywhere in the veins or the arteries, there's inflammation, that's injury, that's damage. Now, the body, the intelligence, the innate intelligence, chiropractors call it, has to repair that damage. Just like if you have a cut or a scrape or a wound on your skin, it's not like you have to look at it and think, heal, 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 heal. It's an automatic system. It knows what to do. It's smarter than any doctor. And that's what's trying to happen on the inside. And that patching that is necessitated by inflammation due to toxins, heavy metals, uric acid, is there to save his life, for instance, to keep him alive long enough to maybe one day have a heart attack if he doesn't change his diet or lifestyle at all. In other words, the injuries keep occurring, the inflammation, the body is going in, lay down the cholesterol to protect the injury, the wound, and let's hopefully heal it. But when the individual doesn't know that he or she is participating in his own demise by eating additives, preservatives, colorings, flavorings, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, GMOs, heavy metals, plasticizers, all of those inflammatory things, then you continue to just do whatever and expect that the drug's going to save you. All the drug would do is damage and intoxicate and poison the liver. That's how it reduces cholesterol, if you want that. But Cardio Miracle, if there's a change in cholesterol levels, it's due to full or better functionality of the liver, because the liver is very vascular as well. And there's a lot of blood flow to the liver. And if it's not getting there, then there's problems with the liver. You have, hardening of the liver itself. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is now in like 40% of all adults in America, 41%. How embarrassing is that? And so you're opening up the floodgates once again of blood flow, vasodilation, and other things that are happening. You're providing antioxidants, including selenium, and that's going to help the liver to function, therefore normalize cholesterol levels. If it's abnormally high, if it's abnormally low. I'm not saying they know what that is, because they haven't had healthy people to test in 100 years. But I'm just saying the shift in cholesterol levels is due to liver function more than anything else. And I argue to lower cholesterol through poisoning the liver, let's just say it's a medical degree in that case.
Wow. I could have said it better myself. But she did add that he does have blockage, 20 to 50%. Praying Cardio Miracle is helping him. And so if I could throw in something here, nitric oxide, just think about nitric oxide. Now, there's over 200,000 studies on nitric oxide and the effectiveness. So if you typed in your question of how can nitric oxide help with cholesterol, just can help with cholesterol. What I am guessing, because I've Googled a similar question, an article I found was how nitric oxide is one of the greatest regulators on earth. So it is going to regulate everyone's system to where it needs to be for that particular system, because every body is different, like Dr. Bell was saying. And so that's what we need to remember, is that nitric oxide is the key ingredient, or the key formula here. So that's what Cardio Miracle does, is it creates and sustains nitric oxide. And from our studies and from what we've learned, we can almost guarantee that it is helping with the blockage. And it's a big claim, we know, but we have tested that at the cellular level to show that nitric oxide is being produced and sustained for 24 hours a day. So thank you so much for that. Do you have any more on that, Dr. Bell?
Well, yeah, you reduce oxidative stress. You reduce the whole reason why there's clogging in the arteries.
Yeah. Love it.
And there's such a powerful antioxidant blend of whole foods, in the Cardio Miracle, that it can help to reverse these things, again, supporting the structure and function of the vascular system. I'm not saying it's the only thing to do. I'm not saying to quit your doctor, but maybe find one that knows a little bit more about cholesterol, and there are those that are out there that do. And it's just like when somebody's 30 to 40 years behind the science, I get a little nervous,
Yeah.
What else are they missing?
Yeah, that's tough. And we got another question about creatine. I love creatine. I take creatine every day. I'm planning to add creatine to hoping to build strength following knee replacement. Is that a good idea? And how do I integrate that with the 2 to 3 daily doses I currently take of Cardio Miracle? I personally wait 30 minutes either before or after I take creatine. But before I take my Cardio Miracle, I don't mix it because I don't take a powder of creatine. I take a gummy of creatine, and I try to keep them separate. But what would you say to that, Dr. Bell?
Yeah, well, if he's getting a knee replacement, that's indicative of long-term mineral deficiencies like silicon and copper and magnesium. Some of which, some of these things are also in Cardio Miracle. But, with creatine, of course, we know it helps to build muscle, right? That's one of the reasons people take it so often. Although in isolation, there have been reports of stress on the kidneys. So making sure that there's a nice blend of some antioxidants in concert with it, right? Rather than it just being isolated. I tend to feel like that's a more responsible way to do something like creatine, which I've taken from time to time, but in a formulation that acknowledges some of the things that in isolation could be problematic long-term. So yeah, I would separate it out from the time I take the Cardio Miracle. If it's 20 or 30 minutes later, that's fine to get the full benefit. And if you need to look more into some of the other minerals associated with why you have to have your knee replaced, that's another discussion. Maybe you can join me on my show and ask that question. I can cover it even more so later.
Love it. I love it. And someone asked, can Cardio Miracle help with leg swelling? And so I went in, did the work for you. I typed in, can nitric oxide help with leg swelling? And this is what it said on Google. Yes, nitric oxide can help with leg swelling by relaxing blood vessels, vasodilation to improve circulation, reducing fluid buildup from prolonged sitting. And so, yes, that is for the leg buildup and the leg swelling. And then you ask, can Cardio Miracle help with type 2 diabetes? And what we have seen with our customers so far is that, yes, it has helped our customers, past customers that I've spoken to personally, a lot with type 2 diabetes. It's helped them to regulate their insulin on how much they're taking. Helps with type 1 diabetics as well, with regulating their insulin levels. And again, this all goes back to regulation and what nitric oxide can do for people that are in need of getting some regulating. So what would you say to that, Robert?
Well, once again, blood flow, it's communication, it's information. It's not just oxygenation, which is a big part of this, but it's also vascular integrity. When you talk about a loss of vascular integrity, you can have, difficulty in terms of the return. The venous system gets weak. You can't get that return up from the lower extremities. You have the pooling, the edemas, different things that can manifest there. And what we know with the nitric oxide production at the vascular level, how it is important for the integrity, the strength, the elasticity as well. And I often add, the 2 key minerals, one of which is already in Cardio Miracle, selenium being very important, but copper as well. And then when we look at the issue of type 2 diabetes, I've seen clinically time and time again that that's evidence of an abject deficiency of the mineral chromium. But very importantly, and I've said it on these kind of meetings we've had before, just as another reminder, that the form of these minerals is important. If you're going to do synthetic isolates made by man, you're not going to have the same benefit as if you find a whole food form of it. That's why we like to have the foods in with Cardio Miracle. Makes all the difference in the world. And so I've had people that were type 2 diabetics full blown reverse in a matter of months, sometimes shorter, but months at least, with getting 100 micrograms of 100% whole food chromium, not a synthetic isolate, not a picolinate, polynicotinate, or anything else, but a whole food form 4 times daily. And by feeding the mineral that was lost, suddenly you have the ability to manage the tractor trailer truck of insulin carrying your sugar. And then it gets to the cells. Without the chromium, there are no dock workers. You have the chromium, the dock workers appear, and it's a miracle. It's not insulin resistance. It's no dock workers to offload the insulin with the sugar. So if you haven't looked into the chromium relationship. You can read about it in my book, Unlock the Power to Heal. And it's there and available, I think, on Amazon. And some of the chapters are available on my website.
That's awesome. And also, let's do a plug. Where can they get your copper and silver? Do they just go to robertscottbell.com, or where do they go?
Yeah, there's a link, RSB approved products, right? Like Cardio Miracle, RSB approved. And so the forms of these minerals and things that you want to really work. I've had a lot of years working this way. And so I want you to know about the things that actually do work. They're in the right form. So on my page, robertscottbell.com, you look up at the top, usually, unless you're on your phone, then it'll be like 3 lines. You click it and it'll give you the options. And you'll see RSB approved. And that's where you go and you'll find the various things, including Cardio Miracle right there.
Heck yeah, man. I love it. And so can you explain, before the next question comes in, how do they all work together in tandem with the copper and the silver and the Cardio Miracle?
Well, yeah, they sometimes they nourish similar pathways. When we talk about the use of copper has so many, when we talk about management, it's like the orchestra. It's like without the copper, you don't have the conductor, right? You know, we all know the importance of zinc and even vitamin C, but both of those in isolation and absence of copper deplete copper in the body, and copper is really critical for vascular integrity as well. So it's another adjunct that people are in big need of mineral replenishment in the right form as well. So silver, of course, is thought of as a natural antibiotic. It's antimicrobial, but it's an immunomodulator, and that's allowed me to raise my kids without having to resort to things like antibiotics. My kids have never had that. Now they're grown adults. So it's possible to do. It's advisable when you can. And I'm not saying there's never a need for a medicine or an antibiotic. I just haven't found it with my kids. So that's good. No doctor would be going, oh, darn it, you didn't get to use any antibiotics. They're like, well, that's great. No, that's good. Now, if you need it, we'd like to have it available to work for you because we overuse and abuse it. Now, most of those things are not even working. So I utilize the silver hydrosol, like the Sovereign Silver, and you see that as links as well. And all of these things also work with the inflammatory cytokine response, which is another important aspect of how do we manage the inflammation that's run away. It's not resolving. And copper manages zinc and repair. Copper manages the entire inflammatory immune cascade. So when you want to cool inflammation, you also need copper, but we're told to fear. The 2 most maligned minerals by medical morons, sorry to say it that way, but it's true, selenium and copper. And if we had adequate selenium and copper, we probably wouldn't need doctors. Not often anyway.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I brought up another question here. I have some mild disc degeneration in lumbar and the worst pain now after PT. How would you take that one on?
Well, yeah, again, we're into the degeneration, so that means mineral depletion. What are the minerals we need? Now, a lot of them are in the Cardio Miracle, so that's a baseline for me because it's blood flow. If you can't get the blood flow in there, even if you take the minerals, they may not get there. That's part of the process of distribution through the body. So let's just start there as the baseline. Cardio Miracle is the baseline. Then you can move out from there. And, you know, the key minerals, you might need to add a little bit more magnesium from 100% whole food source. You would definitely need to look into more silica or silicon. And I utilize the Alta Silica out of Idaho. It's a small family business that I don't have a stake in or anything, but clinically I've seen it regenerate minerals and bones better than calcium that they always say, take more calcium. Like, we got loads of calcium. Most people have too much calcium, and there's calcification of the arteries. Again, another aspect of after the cholesterol, it calcifies. So we need more trace elements like silicon and, again, copper and magnesium, maybe even boron, but all of these things you can find in trace amounts in certain things, but you may need to supplement to help repair and rebuild the connective tissue, which includes the bone and the vertebrae and what's in between it. So that can be a long-term commitment to replenishing and eating more foods that are nutrient rich, mineral rich. And that is designed how we're supposed to get it. Now, the pain, yeah, there are homeopathic remedies that address pain, like rust toxicodendron. Ironically, poison ivy in a homeopathic form is often used for skeletal pain, arthritis, and other things. Hypericum perforatum, which is the homeopathic form of St. John's wort, is another excellent non-invasive, non-toxic nerve pain reducer if there's a lot of nerve pain. And there are a lot of other things to consider. Again, that's why I do a homeopathic hit on my show every day to teach people about different remedies, how they may be important for specific things. Even though you can utilize a lot of them safely. That's the safest medicine on planet Earth is homeopathy. So those are some of the starting things to consider. If you want to come over to my show or my website and ask more questions about it, I cover and answer questions on the air or once a month on my Zoom AMA, Ask Me Anything for my Patreon supporters. And again, last month, your dad, John Hewlett, was on with me and Judy Mikovits, which was so awesome.
Heck yeah, man. I love it. No, I love it. So we got somebody. I'm convinced that no one's trying to get us in trouble here, but where they said, how do I reverse my type 2 diabetes? So again, we don't make any claims. We don't make any big like saying that we can heal everybody or whatnot. But like myself, you know, I lost 200 pounds just by eating healthy whole foods and vegetables. The reason why I was not pre-diabetic or had diabetes as almost a 500 pounder is because of Cardio Miracle. I'm convinced 100%. And so that for me saved my life. And the fact that I decided to just get out one day and start going for a walk, and I decided to start working out, start going to a boxing gym with Robert Scott Bell and duke it out. I mean, I started moving more, and that helped me to, I believe it helped me to reverse a lot of my symptoms that I was having, like high blood sugar, high counts of just high cravings of wanting to eat carbs and sugar all day. And that, for me, that's how I reversed it myself, is by having Cardio Miracle at the cornerstone of my entire weight loss. And me just going out every day and hitting it every single day and walking I walked 9.5 million steps last year. So I'm a walker. So what would you say to that, Robert Scott Bell?
Well, it's true what you say, that we're not diagnosing or preventing or curing or healing. You know, all of these things that happen because we give the body what it needs. And then the body does it. The body's so smart. We're the ones that are dumb. And if we can't figure out that we're missing things and we don't replenish, then it's like we're even dumber. So in the case of type 2 diabetes, as I mentioned before, read my book, Unlock the Power to Heal, that I wrote with my buddy Ty Bollinger, because there's a chapter on chromium, the mineral, that will give you everything you need to reverse it. And do come to the Robert Scott Bell Show website, robertscottbell.com, go to the RSB approved, because there's some things since I wrote that book, certain products that are no longer on the market that I've had to find others that replenish or replace it or are better than it. So you want the update, then come to my website and find out what that is. But read the chapter in the book on chromium and you'll see how to reverse type 2 diabetes.
That's awesome, man. Thank you, Robert. You're the man. So I got a great follow-up question from our same wonderful customer who was asking about her husband. So do you get your labs done to know what you need and or what you're low on? It's like pulling teeth to get a doctor to run labs for minerals. So I was going to ask you, do you have a connection or a link or someone that you know of that can run labs for minerals?
Well, there are numerous mineral assays, some better than others. And I don't tend to rely on that, although people will often bring them to me and we'll look at it and analyze it. But as a homeopath, I'm different in that I am guided by symptoms. I don't treat symptoms, but I'm guided by symptoms. So if somebody says they have low energy and they have a lot of inflammation, I can easily say that could be a chromium. Well, it could be, because energy utilized easily from sugars or carbohydrates that come in and refine. Yeah, could be, but maybe there's no hypoglycemia and there's no elevated blood sugar. So what else could it be? What is it that we need to manufacture the adenosine triphosphate, the ATP, at the mitochondrial level? Well, we need minerals, key among them, magnesium and copper. Most people are not afraid of magnesium, they're taking it. People are afraid of copper irrationally, so they're lacking that more often than not. I go, and inflammation. Copper manages inflammation, tells zinc what to do. Zinc is important, but without copper, you have all the best bricks in the world, you stack them up with no mortar, they come tumbling down. Copper's like the mortar. So for me, I look at what's manifesting in a person's body. What symptoms do they have to indicate to me what they may be lacking? Now, it's very low tech, but homeopathy started long before the era of blood tests and analyses in this way. And that's a good thing. If we ever don't have access, if there's a grid down scenario, you want to be able to be guided by symptoms, not that they're are bad or they are the disease themselves, but they are communication tools to indicate to me or someone who's learned about this what really is happening, whether you have a blood test to validate it or not. And this is not me talking against blood tests, but there's a lot of people that interpret them wrong anyway and still put you on too much calcium or think that cholesterol is the danger, and it's not. So it's like it's only as good as who's interpreting the test up very often. So I know people like Dr. Judy Mikovits, Dr. Avery Jackson have spoken on these things as well, and I'm sure we'll have some meetings with them coming up. I know I'm doing a class Thursday morning online on Zoom, I think it is, with Dr. Judy and Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, who also uses Cardio Miracle. He's wonderful. And we're going to be talking about nattokinase, which for those of you who are concerned about blood coagulation or clots, that's a big thing. People are interested. But Dr. Judy has referenced that there's some toxicity associated with nattokinase, so she recommends a slight variation on that.
Love it.
And I've talked about it on my show with her. So we're going to be hitting that on Thursday morning, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if people do have questions, they want to read more on the product on Cardio Miracle, a link just came up. It said cardiomiracle.com/studies. That's one of our biggest and best, website portals that you can go to and read, tell your heart's content, and be sure to open up your brain because it might explode. It's awesome. So
yes. And one of those things is something we haven't mentioned yet today, that complex hormone D, right? Vitamin D.
Yeah.
And you don't have to take too much D, and that can happen because it's a fat soluble. It's not like a water soluble. You take too much, you urinate it out. So you want, as I do, I want you to utilize that what you take. And when the study was done on the complex formula Cardio Miracle, if you haven't heard about this, and you can see that at the study site, it was found to activate the pathways to get to the stored vitamin D that was more or less, usually more in abundance than you thought in your body. You just couldn't get at it in the fat where it's stored. And so activating and nourishing the pathways, again, opened up the possibility to suddenly use the D that you weren't accessing at all. Therefore, it lowered or reduced the need to take this much. Now you could take a little and get full benefit and then some. And there are people, and maybe you've heard this on previous Q&As here, that have come to me, maybe others, and said, my doctor keeps putting me on more vitamin D, test my levels, and they're not really going up. And I'm saying it's because of a pathway deficiency and dysfunction. And Cardio Miracle opens up the pathways, and suddenly like, oh my gosh, the D is there. It's where it should be. And I'm not taking extra. In fact, I don't need to take as much. So again, I wanted to relate that to everybody about something that's very important, but can be done irresponsibly, but it's done responsibly with Cardio Miracle.
Totally. I love it. Thank you. And one of the questions got cut off that we talked about earlier. Someone is customers taking Cardio Miracle, looks like they have stabbing pain in their glutes and not so much in the lower back. Will Cardio Miracle help? They're taking 2 scoops twice a day. And all I can say is, if you're taking 2 scoops twice a day, it's just a matter of time before it helps. So what do you have to say about
stabbing pain in my glutes? You're talking about your butt muscles? I just want to be sure I'm getting this right.
Yeah.
My butt muscles are sore because of working out. Yesterday, we did those lunges around the place, like 4 times around. It was like 40 to 60 lunges per circuit. I'm like, ow. But again, with the Cardio Miracle, and by the way, Arnica, Montana is your friend. If you're ever got muscular soreness or injury, homeopathic Arnica, you can take orally. You can do it topically when there's no broken skin, but Arnica is something maybe, I don't know the reason for the glute soreness that you have. If there is a lumbar vertebral subluxation from a chiropractic model, you might want to get an adjustment. But utilizing the Cardio Miracle will enhance blood flow. If you need a little extra magnesium, if you need a little extra copper when you're dealing with cramping, that's okay. There are times where our bodies have specific needs beyond the baseline. Sometimes it is just take more Cardio Miracle. Sometimes it's like, wait a second. The symptom indicates to me, again, copper deficiency. I'm going to go, all right, I'll take more of the sovereign copper. Whereas sometimes you don't have access to something like that. You go, oh, I need a blood test to tell me. Well, I hope that it's a good test and the person can interpret it right. But you can have an immediate ability to experiment with these things safely when you follow along with the things we do on my show.
Yeah, she said it's not due to exercising, but that's... the thing is that I believe like anyone that is saying they're not feeling a benefit of Cardio Miracle, if I tell them to take 4 servings a day and they start feeling it, they start feeling better. And it personally took me to go from my blood pressure was 190 over 110 when I was almost 500 pounds, down to 106 over 60. It took me a solid 12 weeks of at least 4 servings a day, every day, never missing.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's where we talk about a loading phase when you first start up. Yeah. If you're not on the hypersensitive place where you're like, everything I take, I overreact to, then you go slow. But for some, again, like Josh, you can go damn the torpedoes. I'm going full steam ahead to reload. Really load it up. And then you come to a point where you'll go, oh, I'm doing all right. And I'm going to start reducing the frequency of the dose or even the size or quantity. And then you're like, I'm still doing great. Well, that means you hit the baseline and now you're looking for some level of maintenance. And like I do, most of the time, I'm just doing 1 scoop a day. Now, I'm up to 154, almost 153. But muscle, right? I'm thrilled about that because it was like, it's the opposite problem a lot of people complain about. I'm not trying to get people mad at me, but not everybody have to deal with an overweight. Some people have a problem keeping weight on, metabolically or otherwise. So the Cardio Miracle helped me, again, to be able to do the things I need to rebuild and repair and get where I needed to go. But for my body weight, 150, that's, I guess, an average. I don't know how you do the averages, but I do very well with a, scoop a day, because I'm doing a lot of other things that I have been doing long before I started Cardio Miracle, which is some of the funny stories about your dad, John Hewlett, coming after me and going, Robert, you got to tell everybody about Cardio Miracle. Yeah, I've heard it all before, John. Who are you, right? And, he wore me down, and all the story about Super Don, my producer, and the migraines going away. I'm like, okay, you got me. And then looking into the study, you got me. It's like everything now, it's become a mainstay and a staple for me. But, the ideal would be you only need a scoop a day. And that doesn't sell as much product, but again, your dad and you guys are not only about, of course, everybody's got to sell some, but this is something that changes lives. And we want you to take what you need. And if you initially need a lot, that's okay. Your body, many people do. They're so deficient. And so building up like it has, like with Josh or others, I've heard the same thing. That's like, I wasn't getting it until I started loading it, really loading it. And then suddenly I saw that impact. And then they taper back down to whatever's maintenance for them. Some people are bigger, some people are smaller. And so I'm just giving you the wide range of experiences that it's not a one size fits all, but in terms of quantity and frequency. You got to respond, or your body will tell you as you learn the message, the language, the symptoms, what it tells you need to get where you are going. What is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? For me, I didn't even have a goal taking Cardio Miracle. I'm like, I'm just going to try it and see what happens. I think I'm pretty good. And I was like, I was good, but I'm like, holy tamale, look how much better. I didn't expect that. It just totally blew away anything I expected related to my fitness level, at the time when I started my mid 50s, now nearing 60, still running circles around myself at 24 now because of this. So what does it take for you? It's going to be unique to you, but we do have a wide range and a safety profile that's pretty profound.
I love it. Okay. We got 2 final questions. We're going to wrap up. So, does Cardio Miracle help with neuropathy and Lyme's disease? And my answer to both of these questions is, and I typed in the chat that yes, nitric oxide plays a crucial role in neuropathy and with help with that. But with Lyme's disease, we actually have one of my dear cousins has severe Lyme's disease, and what it has done for him has really helped regulate a lot of his symptoms of Lyme's disease. And so he doesn't say it's completely gone, but he said a lot of his symptoms have decreased and a lot of his symptoms have, some have gone away. So what would you say to that, Dr. Bell?
Well, yeah, Lyme disease is considered a weird, strange Borrelia spirochete, they call it, an infection that seems to run and hide when you give it antibiotics, right? Rather than killing it, it sheds its, certain form, becomes it's just weird, right? It's almost like an X-Files thing, what it does. I've worked with many physicians over 25 years now, working with the bioactive silver hydrosol, the Argentin 23, specifically when it comes to the medical needs with Lyme. You still need blood flow. We still need oxygen. We still need everything that nitric oxide facilitates in the body. But sometimes the missing component to fully overcome it is that broad spectrum antimicrobial yet immune modulatory substance in the silver, the Argentin 23. So I would say look into that, but no doubt that you'll only be enhanced or helped anything you do by getting the that endothelial layer. It's not just the vasculature, it's also the lymphatic system. The lymphatic channels also have an endothelial layer that's benefited by this. And a lot of this is backflow or backlog or congestion. There's lack of movement through the system. And you don't have that pump scenario with the heart that you do with the circulatory system related to blood. With the lymph, you have to move like Josh does. You have to walk and move too. But we also need the integrity of the endothelial lining, and that Cardio Miracle is only going to help. So I would not want to be without it, whether it's Lyme or anything else.
Heck yeah. Thank you. And so someone is asking for your link again. So it's robertscottbell.com, robertscottbell.com. So if you want to go there, you can go to his products that are approved. And that we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining the Q&A tonight. Thank you so much for our special guest, Robert Scott Bell. Whoo! We're so excited to have you, my friend.
Well, dude, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon, hopefully having you back on my show soon, and maybe heading into the Cardio Miracle studio for another round as well, where you are.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate all you. And please email us at support@cardiomiracle.com if we did not get to your questions. If you have deeper questions, we'll get to every single one of them. But we pray for you. We love you. Thank you so much for your support. And we hope everybody had a wonderful New Year and a wonderful Christmas.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sorry, I thought we weren't going to answer any questions, but apparently we screwed up and answered a bunch of questions tonight.
That's all right here. Love you guys. Thank you so much.